Festivals Lab. Future Everything is an innovation agency that's been running since 1995, so it's our 20th anniversary next year. I'm going to stand over here actually, that's okay. And we've run a festival for much of that time. In fact, many people know of us through our festival. But our festival is somewhat unusual because we use the festival. It is a cultural event that attracts thousands of people. It's citywide, but we use it as a research platform. We experiment in methods and mechanisms for research and knowledge exchange within the festival, and a large part of that methodology is drawn from the Living Lab methodology into something we call Festival as Lab. So just to give you a very quick overview firstly of the festival, and by the way I've got like 90 slides, so do excuse me if I just plough through them. So the festival has a conference at the heart of it. It's an art festival. It comes out of new media art, and it's about invention. So we present prototypes which experiment with a digital future. To give you a sense of scale, it's usually around 4 days, 200 artists and speakers, 80 events, 20 venues. Actually, yeah, the last one a little bit smaller than that. And it's thematically led. So the organisation runs labs, thematic labs, which shape the curatorial theme for each year. Some of them run for 9 months, some of them run for several years. And there's a very close relationship with research. I also have an academic post, and Future Everything, the festival, as well as being an event in its own right, run by a separate company, is also a research output. So as an academic, my primary means of publication, my primary research output, which is peer-reviewed, and I can talk about that, is the festival itself. So that's the festival. Again, very quick overview on Future Everything. So Future Everything is an innovation agency in Manchester, established 1995. We work with Manchester on its smart city policy, and in particular a bottom-up smart city approach. We do city data services. The data synchronization program is one example. It's enabling the local authorities to coordinate releases of data as linked open data, and that's very much about public sector transformation, so we embed code fellows, etc. in local government. We do projects around data insights. We're working with arts organisations to help them exploit the data they generate and own. We do a lot of citizen engagement projects and sensing projects. We're collaborating with Varg Society and Barcelona Fab Lab in the Smart Citizen platform. We do art commissions. This was a data visualization for the London Olympics. We do design for science. So we're working with national meteorological offices, bringing data visualization, user experience design, design evaluation into the development of climate services. We do advocacy, policy work, so Future Everything is a node of the Open Data Institute, and we also do publications. So a very quick introduction to Future Everything. So the Festival as Lab method, where does it come from? In this audience, I'm not going to say anything about living labs. I think I can assume a certain level of background knowledge about living labs. This is an example of a living lab. This is actually testing health and safety procedures. In a minute, one half of the building is going to burn down. And I have ethnographers and sensors that are going to track your responses in real time. Some of the methods that we use in Festivals Lab are probably distinctive. For example, like others here, I know Varg Society are one, we emerged from new media art, and we draw on art as a methodology. in that art enables questions, tacit knowledge, and the otherwise inexpressible to be externalized and given tangible form. We draw on various design and computer science methodologies, design fiction, Wizard of Oz. I'll say more about that when I talk about projects. We do showcases, demonstrators, citywide experiences at a large scale. But also we experiment, we enable designers and artists to experiment with the infrastructure of a city. And we're very concerned with developing infrastructure, social infrastructures that endure. And one of our approaches is, again drawing on an art method, curation. We curate innovation. And for us, that's about putting into play new pattern networks of assemblages of people, ideas, things and action, drawing on actor network theory. We document and share our methods. So this is actually quite old and neat. In fact, I have a call to action at the end, and I invite you to collaborate with us and do collaborate on a collective second iteration of the Festival as Lab toolkit. We did a very, very simple set of fact sheets some years ago. We'd love to collaborate with people. If you'd like to come to Manchester and do some living lab deployments, we could develop that. We publish our methods. These are built on by members of the academic community. It's led to a large knowledge exchange hub in the UK, the Creative Exchange, which was the largest grant the AHRC Arts and Humanities Research Council has ever awarded, which built on the Future Everything methods. And also, just as an aside, there's also a very rich intellectual tradition we draw on. One example of that is the Carnivalesque. The Carnivalesque is about a temporary space and moment, using humour and chaos to subvert social norms and liberate new ideas. And Festival as Lab is a temporary space and moment using co-design and play to disrupt norms and liberate new ideas. And so this brings a very particular approach to the idea of the city as lab. So cities become laboratories for new ways of living, playing, governing, new forms of citizenship. And yeah, I won't draw on this, but there's a lot of interesting discussion about the rule spaces we disrupt working in public space. So examples of projects. And I started late, so I'm not going to present all of this, but I've got some time, so I will present some. Some projects are what I would call fairly conventional. This was a field trial of a transport application that we deployed in the festival, and so our festival visitors used this to navigate the city, and data was captured on that by the team as part of a design process. And one thing that's distinctive about our festival is it's our audience are accustomed to being experimented on. So it's a delicate line, but we're comfortable in presenting prototypes to them. They're okay with things that occasionally break. Other projects are maybe less conventional. I'll say a little bit more on this. So Chatter was a project looking at surveillance and privacy, where we basically captured and recorded private conversations of people in the venue at our event, and we published them online in perpetuity. And I'll explain more. There was a very strict ethics framework. Methodologically, we drew on Wizard of Oz, which is a computer science method where, like Wizard of Oz, you fabricate, it's a method for very early stage prototyping. You create a scenario where you test various hypotheses of a future digital system without having constructed that digital system. It's a reverse Wizard of Oz, because rather than hiding behind the veil, the human operations, the humans operating different technological functions, were put in front of participants in order to generate reflection and debate. and I'll say more, but some of the outcomes where this is like kissing while being watched. Another recent project from just last year was called City Fictions. This drew on design fiction, and here we worked in an entire city neighbourhood, and we invited designers and innovation agencies and artists to create near-future city institutions, and then we evaluated the success in creating these. And so these were design experiments, artistic environments. There was of many different types. A kitchen, a museum, many different types of institutions that we used this device of design fiction, which ordinarily would lead to a video sketch, but here it was design fiction in the wild. So we deployed design fictions out in the city space to create a future scenario that the audience can inhabit and play with. This was one, I'll skip some of this because I've got a lot. Digital public space, we work with the BBC and the Space Programme, and the artist group Blast Theory presented an urban game mixing urban and online interaction to test some questions around the idea of the digital public space. Pack Manchester is another one. So I've got two projects I'll whiz through and then I'll give you some summaries. So Environment 2.0, so here we work with the Met Office, so the UK Meteorological Office, and we set ourselves a challenge. We wanted to capture a data set on local climate the Met Office could not capture in any other way. And we designed some playful participatory games that we deployed at the festival. One of these was Climate Bubbles, which was some bubble blowing games where people could take a bubble blowing kit or download some instructions and then blow bubbles and follow them and blow another and record the start and end point to get wind flow, and they could race bubbles and time them to get wind speed, which enabled us to generate data on wind flow as an indicator of the urban heat island phenomenon in a way that the Met Office couldn't otherwise do. And then to say a little bit more about Chatter, and I won't be able to go into detail, but some of the research questions were: how far will we accept private conversations being captured and shared online? Also, what are the implicit rules for exchanges in these new spaces, and how do visitors negotiate these? We had a data use policy, we had a very strict, rigorous data use policy, and the introduction of this and the obtaining of consent was part of the performance. So the ethics was presented as a means to communicate and generate debate, but it was also a performative act. We were turning our audience into guinea pigs. So I don't know if you know that expression, so guinea pigs are things that are experimented on. So the recording devices were placed inside guinea pigs that the audience then carried around with them, and you had real-time feedback, so you could see, not real-time feedback. This was then transcribed by a human operating as a line of code, and then these people here, and then published. So we were making the different steps that are usually invisible, visible in order to generate debate. And we have some very nice reflections on the implications of technology, the experience of the project, the trade-offs, and also reputation of the pseudonym. So some of the people were more concerned about the reputation of their pseudonym than they were about their privacy, which was very interesting. Oh yeah, how's your Dutch? So people would game the system. They would speak in Dutch, for example, so that our English transcribers would miss it. Or please, yeah, and this is my favourite one. This is like kissing whilst being watched. After a while, you don't think about it anymore. So last few slides, key characteristics. So why festivals? Festivals involve large numbers of people taking part in experimental, playful activity. They are participatory spaces that nurture play, risk and community creation. They enable the free circulation of people and ideas, connecting people at different levels, from grassroots to government to business leaders. Festival as lab. This turns a festival into an agile R&D environment. It's about experts and passionate amateurs coming together to imagine and experience the future. It turns the city into a play space. Because of our close relationship with the city, we can test and experiment new forms of infrastructure, and these experiments devise new innovations and also generate visibility and engagement. Call to action. If any of you are interested in staging a Festival as Lab deployment, if you have a project that you think would be suitable for this kind of living lab deployment, maybe shout out now or come and see me. Ideally shout out now, because then we can put in a process by which we can engage with you. If you don't let us know, we won't. So over to you. Any questions?